Back when Doom: The Dark Ages was announced, I was really excited at the fact that this game would be a prequel story to Doom 2016. I was particularly excited because this meant that at least there was a possibility that we could get a story that could show us one of the most exciting moments in Doom lore. The moment when the Slayer and the Night Sentinels are left stranded in Hell, followed by the Slayer being imprisoned inside a sarcophagus for millions of years, which then leads into the events of Doom 2016, where the Slayer is finally freed. Out of all of the time gaps in the Doom universe, this is one of the most exciting ones to tell a prequel story about. So when Doom: The Dark Ages was revealed to be a prequel story, I was beyond ecstatic. However, it was later revealed that Doom: The Dark Ages would take place during the Unholy Crusades, the time when Argent and Earth first came in contact with Hell. A time period that, if you read the codexes from Doom Eternal, lasted for many years, which couldn't possibly lead to the events that took place when the Slayer was imprisoned in Hell. But after playing Doom: The Dark Ages a couple of times, I noticed something. Something that tells me that it might be planning on bridging the events of the medieval chapter with the start of Doom 2016. And it was this moment that gave it away. The person who just stepped into this demonic pentagram is Commander Valen, one of the most renowned warriors in Sentinel history. But he is often more recognized by another title, the Betrayer. He was given this title because he was instrumental in Hell's victory over Argent and Ur. It's not clear what happened yet, but somehow Hell was able to get a hold of his son. This was made worse for Commander Valen by the fact that Hell would constantly torment him with visions of his son being tortured in Hell. Like any good Sentinel warrior, Commander Valen at first was successful in resisting Hell's visions. But eventually, Hell managed to slither its way into Commander Valen's psyche, and that's when the renowned Night Sentinel betrayed his world. In exchange for the return of his son, he would lead the Hell Priest into the Elemental Sepulchre, the resting place of the Elemental Wraiths, the source that powered all of Argent and Ur's weapons. With this betrayal, the Night Sentinels' fight against Hell didn't last much longer. Without their precious Wraith energy, Hell was able to absorb all of Argent and Ur into their domain, but not before fulfilling their end of the deal to Commander Valen. Valen's son was returned to him, but not in the form he was expecting. Valen's son returned to him in the form of the Icon of Sin, a demonic creature of such immense power that it destroyed the entire world of Argent and Ur. A swift end to the great civilization of Argent and Ur, all because of one man's betrayal. A plan Hell set in motion in this exact moment. I believe that when Commander Valen entered the pentagram, Hell was able to enter his mind and return. And this is how I think the DLC for the Dark Ages will end, with Hell consuming all of Argent and Ur with the Icon of Sin, while Doomguy is imprisoned in Hell. But before any of this happens, the Codex pages from Doom Eternal tell us that other important moments in Argent and Ur's history need to happen before, like the Argent Civil War. The Argent Civil War began after some Night Sentinels discovered that the Makers were working with Hell to produce Argent energy, an event that can be traced, interestingly enough, to Doom: The Dark Ages. If you thought the story of Doom: The Dark Ages is about Doomguy destroying the forces of Hell after coming out of the Divinity Machine, you're not wrong. But there's more to this story than what you see on the surface. If you pay close attention to some of the conversations, and more importantly, the ending, you realize that this story is about a very pivotal moment in Doom lore, the Maker's discovery of Argent energy. Argent energy truly is at the heart of modern Doom lore. Back in Doom 2016, we learned that Argent energy came as a savior to mankind after they had exhausted all of their natural resources for conventional forms of energy. With Argent energy, humanity prospered, knowing that the precious Mars substance would propel them into the future. But what humans failed to understand is that Argent energy didn't originate from Mars. It actually came from the deepest chasms of Hell itself. And who created this marvelous source of energy, you ask? Well, that would be Prince Azrak. At the beginning of Doom: The Dark Ages, we learned that Prince Azrak is in search of the Heart of Argent, a device believed to contain the soul of an ancient god, a wraith. In reality, the soul of the Wraith is found within Commander Thera. How this is possible, I honestly don't know, maybe we'll get an answer to it in the DLC. But what you need to know is that the combination of Wraith energy with Hell essence, which Prince Azrak has, creates Argent energy, which we can see Prince Azrak take full advantage of near the end of the story. However, the Makers also played a big role in the creation of Argent energy, as we learned that it was thanks to Creedmaker that Prince Azrak was able to get a hold of Wraith energy. But why did Creedmaker betray the people of Argent Anur? The reason for his betrayal lies in the Makers' biological makeup. Although they are considered gods by humans, Makers do not go on to live forever. At the end of their lifespan, they go through a process called the Transfiguration, a process that leaves their angelic nature behind to become a creature resembling an eldritch monster. Makers despise the idea of going through this process, and so far there are only two ways to stop it from happening. Either they merge with the Father's essence, or start taking the infamous Argent energy. Now I'm not gonna get into it here, but at the time of Doom the Dark Ages, the Makers cannot merge with the Father anymore, which leaves the Khan Maker no option but to make a deal with Hell to gain access to Argent energy. And in exchange for Argent energy, Hell would gain access to all of the worlds under the Khan Maker's control, which includes Argent Anur. As one of the Codex pages from Doom Eternal reads, a symbiotic relationship had been formed, and darkness had now been balanced by light. For where there was heaven, there would also be hell. This deal between heaven and hell happened off-screen during the events of Doom the Dark Ages. But by the end, King Novik makes it clear that he suspected the Creedmaker wasn't the only Maker that was working with hell.
The Maker's Church has disavowed all actions taken by the Creed. They give their word he was acting alone, and they'll bring justice to anyone that collaborated with them.
We'll move forward with our own Inquisition, quietly.
To me, this sounds a lot like it is teasing a specific moment from the Codex pages found in Doom Eternal. It was on a mission deep within the boiling seas of the Netherrealm, where the Order of the Six reside, that a company of Night Sentinels learned of the Khan Maker's true dealings with the Callous Beasts. I think this is how the DLC for Doom the Dark Ages will begin, with Doomguy and some Night Sentinels discovering the Argent factories at Necroball. This will then trigger the Argent Civil War, where some Night Sentinels will side with the Khan Maker and the others with the Wraiths. During the Civil War, the Order of Dag will play an important role, as they will devise a plan that will leave Doomguy and the Night Sentinels stranded in Hell. And I suspect one of the Night Sentinels left stranded will be Marok, Commander Valen's son, who Hell will turn into the Icon of Sin to destroy Argent Anur. I predict the DLC will end with a cutscene of Doomguy being imprisoned in the same sarcophagus from Doom 2016, very similar to how the Ancient Gods Part 2 ended, bringing the modern Doom saga to an end, which will allow id to begin working on a reboot for Quake. At least, I think this would be an appropriate way to end the modern Doom saga. Although there are still some mysteries I'm not sure how they'll answer in this DLC. The big one being the identity of the Wretch. Back in Doom 2016, we learned that while Doomguy was stranded in Hell, he met someone named the Wretch, who forged for Doomguy the Praetor suit he wears in Doom 2016. Given the layout of the story I'm proposing, I'm not really sure where they'll be able to fit in the Wretch. My guess is that instead of taking years to answer, all of the unanswered questions left from the Codex pages will be compressed into a single storyline for the DLC. I'm not a big fan of this idea, as I know what that did to God of War Ragnarok, and hell, even the Ancient Gods DLC. My only hope is that the Dark Ages DLC will be a chunky one. That way they get enough time to tell this story fully. Because I don't think it can close the story of the modern Doom saga with 6 missions. But based on everything I've seen them tease with the Dark Ages, I suspect they're going to try. With that said, let me know what you think of my idea. Do you think they're still going to tie the medieval era with Doom 2016? Or do you think they'll leave the storyline for its own game? Whatever your thoughts and theories are, make sure to leave them in the comments section below. As always, I want to give a big thanks to all of my YouTube and Patreon members for supporting the channel monthly. I would also like to thank everyone who likes and shares my videos. It may not seem like much, but trust me, it really does help. And with that said, thanks for watching. And remember, go forth in the name of Olympus.